Hi, students. Today we're going to be discussing the worksheet on the power, which has been uploaded onto ECI. So you can find it in the section for the power by Naomi Alderman. So we're going to be looking at the first 9 or 10 questions in that worksheet because I think that it's going to be really important for you in terms of understanding some of the things that are going on in your assignment question. So this is just to coax you into thinking about some of the issues that you find in the novel and how it actually affects your assignment question. Okay, so we're going to start with question number 1, which is explain the 2 possible meanings of the term plot. To what do we refer when we talk about the plot? Now, if you remember, we've actually gone through the elements of a novel last semester. And when we talk about the plot, generally what we do is we're talking about a series of events that are important to the storyline. But now, it's also important that you note that there are 2 terms or definitions for the actual term plot. And that is, you can find the definition of a secret plan to overthrow or cause harm. Okay, so that is a negative connotation, that there's something negative that's going on that's going to cause bodily or general harm. And then the second definition, obviously, is the events of a story which you're more familiar with. Now, I want you to think very carefully about how both of these definitions actually play into the novel. Because in the novel, obviously, we have a plot, which is the events of a story, but you also have this secret plan to overthrow or subvert patriarchy. And this happens when the women find out that they have more power or they are physically stronger and superior to men, and they start to plot to overthrow patriarchal society. Question number 2 is what is meant by narrative present? So when is the narrative present of this novel? Now, it's very important that you understand the timing in the novel because this will affect the way that you actually perceive the novel. When we talk about narrative, obviously we're talking about a series of recorded events or a story. And when we talk about present, we're obviously talking about now. So the narrative present will be the present now that you find in the story or narrative. Okay, so when is the now in the story? And you'll realize that the now is actually when Naomi and Neil are writing the letters to each other. So the interesting thing about the now is that it's actually 5,000 years into the future. That is the now in the novel. So I do want you to be very, very aware that the now or the narrative present in the power is when Neil and Naomi are writing the letters to each other. So all the stories that are presented to you in the novel within the novel is actually the past. Because obviously Neil is telling us a fictional history or account of how women came into power. Question number 3. What is the power that the women in this novel exercise? So what is the power that these women have? Now, you'll note that they have a physical power, which we've talked about previously. It's that ability to send electrical shocks that can inflict pain on another person, wound them, kill them even. So you must remember that you have a physical power, but you also have a psychological power. And this is the ability for women to perceive themselves or think of themselves as stronger than men. Both the physical and psychological power are incredibly important in understanding how women actually come into power and subvert patriarchy. So that's how they overthrow male dominance. They need both the physical and the psychological. So I do apologize for the typo here, but once they are physically stronger, they become psychologically stronger. So I need you to think very carefully about this important change. They're only able to actually see themselves as stronger once they have physical proof, once they see that their bodies are physically stronger than men. And this is where the biological component of power dynamics comes into play. It is only when women are physically stronger that men actually start to see them as strong or powerful. Now, men in the story and in everyday life now, in current circumstances, generally seem to see women as inferior or weaker. And obviously, this is a stereotypical view, so please don't write me any angry emails. But the stereotypical view of males towards females is that they are weaker, and this is due to the fact that they are just physically weaker and emotionally passive and more emotional in comparison to men who are more aggressive and physically stronger and muscular. Okay, but in the novel, men's perceptions of women only start to change once they see the physical change in the females. That is very important for you to understand, that without that physical alteration, they wouldn't be viewed as actually being more powerful or stronger, even if they are mentally stronger. Okay, so it's almost as if you need that sort of biological, physical proof before you can actually say that females are stronger. Question number 4, do you think this power has any positive use? Okay, or is it only useful as a weapon? So are the women only using it for self-protection? Are they only using it for attacking? And how does it compare to a gun or a taser? Now, this is quite interesting because if you think about the power in the novel that they use, you can say that it is positive because you need to look at all the things that it is actually helping women with and all the things that it's preventing them from experiencing, the negative things that it's preventing them from experiencing. So it helps women protect themselves. There are a lot of instances where they are protected from rape, from violence, from murder. So it is a form of protection. But I need you to also think about how women are allowed to explore other aspects of themselves and society around them once they no longer have to worry about being harmed. So yes, it's about protection, but think about what actually opens up for these females and these women once they no longer are worrying about being raped, about being violated, about being murdered. Okay? What does this do to women? What avenues does it allow them to explore once they no longer have to worry about themselves being harmed? So you can think about how Roxy explores being the leader of a crime syndicate. You can think of how Ali can start to explore being a female religious leader, how Margot starts to explore being in a higher political position. These are all things that women can only explore once they are no longer worried about being harmed. all of these things are only possible because of the physical change that happens in their bodies. So that physical change leads to a mental shift in power relations within society. And it's very important that you note that. The physical change, that skin that they develop, allows a mental shift in power dynamics within society. So that is where power becomes biologically rooted in the novel. And just to go back, I want you to think, could Roxy actually be the leader of a crime syndicate if she did not have that skin? Could Ali actually be a strong female religious leader and start to change religious texts and emphasize female power in religious texts if she didn't have the ability to electrically jolt or shock people? And could Margot actually claim these higher political positions if she didn't have her skin? I want you to really just think about that. Question number 5, do you think that the novel reflects the view that gender inequality is due to biological inequality? So basically what that's asking you is that men are stronger than women due to their physical strength and aggressive tendencies, that women are weaker due to their lack of physical strength and aggressive tendencies. So this issue with gender inequality, this bias that we find among genders, is it due to the fact that there is this biological inequality between the sexes? Do you think that if men and women were equally as strong and equally as aggressive, that there wouldn't be gender inequality? These are just some of the things that you need to think about while you are writing your assignment, because obviously it is open to interpretation. So you're going to consider how the novel subverts this point of view. How does it subvert gender inequality based on biological inequality? And the way that it does that is by allowing women to have the skin and to be physically stronger and more aggressive. Okay, and you can just look for examples of women being physically stronger and being more aggressive in the text in order to back up your assignment. Question number 6. Could you name 3 examples of physical or biological superiority or inferiority from the novel? And are your examples of 3 different characters or all of one character? Now, I've given you 3 different examples where you can find the sort of physical, biological, both superiority and inferiority. So one of the examples is how Ali is able to kill her foster father, who rapes and abuses her. And she does this with her electrical jolts. So she does this with biological superiority. She wouldn't have been able to do that being a teenager and being face to face with an older, stronger male who is her foster father. She would not have been able to kill him or overpower him without that biological superiority. Then you can also think of how Tunde is violated by women when he is physically weaker. And there's examples where a female tries to rape him, and this is only possible because they are biologically superior in the novel, within the novel. Also, another example is how Daryl is toyed with and killed by women that previously worked for him after he steals Roxy's skin. So the only way that these women are able to actually violate and murder Daryl is because of their biological or physical superiority that they've developed. And that in turn gives Daryl inferiority. So even though he has waxy skin, he's still a male who has stolen it. Okay. And then question number 7 asks you, what is meant by the term complicity? So what does it mean to be complicit in something? And what does it mean to be complicit in or with the patriarchal system? Now, you must remember that the patriarchal system is a social system that is dominated by men or males. And it usually affects family, religion, economics, finances, and all avenues of society. So when you are complicit, you're involved in something, you're part of something that is usually unlawful or morally incorrect. So complicit is a little bit negative, okay? Accepting or allowing the incorrect beliefs that allow women to be seen or treated as inferior. So that's what it means to be complicit in or with a patriarchal system, that you are accepting these beliefs of inequality, that you are accepting that women are inferior or that men are superior. And I've given you the example of the belief that women cannot be political leaders, which is something that occurs with Margot. That would be an instant of someone being complicit with the patriarchal system if they believed that women could not be political leaders. If you believe that a female cannot be a strong religious figure, that is being complicit with the patriarchal system, because you're buying in to these male stereotypes and beliefs in society. So think of how women are treated as inferior in all these different spheres in society. So politics, religion, the family, and art. And then think of how this novel actually shows you how women subvert this inferior treatment in politics. So you have Margot. In religion, you have Ali, or as she's called, Eve. In the family, even with Roxy and her father and among her brothers, okay? And then also through art. And that the notion of art is when Neil actually sends his manuscript to Naomi, because he's actually showing a lot of subversion of androcentric beliefs in creativity and writing. Okay, so that's what I mean by art. Question number 8. Do you think that any of the women characters or female characters in The Power reflect complicity with dominant men? So are there any female characters in the novel that you think are complicit with the dominant male figures? And it says, if so, who and how? Now, I've given you one example, and you may find others. I gave you Mrs. Montgomery Taylor. Now, she is the wife of Mr. Montgomery Taylor, who is the foster father of Ali. And you see how he treats Ali, and Mrs. Montgomery Taylor just turns a blind eye towards it, and how she herself treats Ali with disdain and feels like Ali deserves it. So that would be an instance of a female character being complicit with patriarchal notions, because she's being complicit with the ideas that Mr. Montgomery Taylor has, that he is superior, that he can treat this young female in such a violent, aggressive manner. Okay. And then question number 9, of those examples, do you think there could be extenuating circumstances to their complicity? So do you feel that there are any reasons or excuses that you can make for these females in their complicity that allow them to be complicit? What reasons could allow their complicity? Do you feel empathy with or for them? Now, since I've given you the example of Mrs. Montgomery Taylor, we could say that the extenuating circumstances to their complicity would be the fact that she doesn't know any better. She's brought up in this dominant patriarchal society, and she's married to this man that obviously holds on to these strong stereotypical male beliefs. So we could say that she's been brought up with these beliefs, and it's just it's a negative cycle being perpetuated within the family system. It does also say that she is religious, but there's a lot that you could say about that as well. Does the religion allow for Mrs. Montgomery Taylor to feel that she is inferior as a female and that her husband, the man, is superior? So there's all these different dynamics that you can think of. And yeah, do you feel empathy with them or for them? That is obviously a personal response. I'm not going to give you any answers there. So that is the end of our live learning session for today. Obviously, it's not so live because you are going to be watching a recording of this. I hope that you can understand some of the questions from the worksheet now, and that it makes a little bit more sense to you in terms of how you're going to respond in your assignment. Please feel free to email, WhatsApp, voice note, or arrange a Zoom session with me. I am available. Thank you.